Hey everyone, it's Sean and Henry on air for another How Not to K-Pop. Today we're going in on a monstrously successful group who are one of the big players in this recent incarnation of Hallyu Wave, Monsta X. They may be huge, but are they ripping on BTS? Stay tuned. Also, we discuss how they debuted through a TV survival show, and if that's the only way to get famous in K-pop, problems with the member Wonho and the other solo efforts of the members. And Henry, let's get into Monsta X, How Not to K-pop now.
All right, well, what can we say about Monsta X? Let's see.
They're 5 years old now. I
5
didn't
years
know.
old.
Yeah.
So that means they debuted 2015.
That's right. And do you know the name Starship?
Did they Sister?
That's right, Sister. I knew you'd know them because of Sister. Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's Sister. There was
there was K-Will as well.
Oh man!
Look, they're not one of the big three.
K-Will.
They're not like SM. They're not like YG, but they're still fairly big. And Starship Entertainment debuted them in 2015. Monsta X originally had 7 members. Now it's 6. They debuted with Trespass. You heard Trespass?
I have actually heard Trespass. Yes, so their first song Trespass was, if I'm correct, you liked the song more than I did.
Loved it. I loved Trespass. Yeah.
It was more on the hip hop side, right?
Absolutely. A little bit of a dubstep kind of feel to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I understood Trespass. I get the feeling that they gave off. I wasn't exactly a big fan of Trespass. It's not my style. That's all. Just a personal.
Wow. Well, a lot of people disagreed with you because Monsta X were pretty much big from the get-go, but especially highlights where Hero really blew up. That had a cool MV where they were on a rooftop. Kind of cool.
Hero, the thing about Hero, I liked Hero, but I didn't like the original version. I think there was a broadcast version where they had game, like Mario sounds in them.
Right.
I liked that version. And another thing was when I watch this, unless you guys haven't heard from the last podcast, I prefer watching the music videos. So when I watch Monsta X, when I watch their choreographies and their dances, it's really good. It's really sharp, really clean. It's got that power. It just works so well, and I enjoy watching that, and it makes me enjoy the songs more. When I first listened to Trespass, I wasn't really a fan. When I watched the dance, I like it more than before. Yeah.
I feel you. You need all of that because that's the whole package of K-pop. It's not just the music. It never has been. It is the members' visuals. It's the dance they do associated with the song. It's even those funny videos where they might dress up for Chuseok or dress up for Halloween and do a video. It's all of that combined. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I enjoyed Hero much more, the broadcast version at least. I enjoyed it much more than Trespass.
More recently, I've enjoyed their songs that were attempts to get into the US charts, like Billboard charts. They did one with Steve Aoki called Play It Cool. Super, super cool song. Like, real kind of smooth, sexy, but also dancey.
That's their first attempt, right?
Yeah, that was their first attempt. That was almost fully English, like 90% English, yeah.
I actually enjoyed it. I might have some criticisms of the fact that it sounded very generic. Right.
That's fair.
Because like if you compare the style in that with their Western collaborations versus the music they do for K-pop, for Korean, there's a big difference. There's a lot more how do I say it? There's a lot more variety, uniqueness. There's a play on different genres, multiple genres with K-pop. Whereas with the West, you can tell it's much more, not generic, but the style stays the same. You know it is a dance track.
So did you find it maybe just a little bit stale, especially compared to their K-pop?
When I first listened to it, like, it felt stale. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. It did feel stale. But at the same time, when you realize they made it with that Western influence. It's meant to be like that, right?
Yeah,
it's not meant to
pop,
be stale.
Pop is pop. Yeah,
that's right. It's meant to stay in that genre. You go out of it, it's not pop anymore. It's like a mix, right? Pop rock or pop dance or pop whatever. So with that in mind, that became less stale. Yeah, you understand it.
And I wouldn't say that it's a success yet for Monsta X. I think they're attempting it, but they're still on that road. They're still on that journey. They've only released 2 songs, as far as I know, Play It Cool and Who Do You Love, which is also another amazing song.
Who Do You Love was good.
I think they've got a real chance at it because, as you told me off air, they're English. So good.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. When I listened to them with the song Play It Cool, the English, I understood it. And that's important, especially when you're trying to break into a market that doesn't speak your language.
Oh, 100%.
And you're trying to speak theirs.
It's essential.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, with the collaboration with Steve Aoki in Play It Cool, I don't believe Steve actually sings.
Right. He's the producer, that kind of role. Yeah.
Makes a song. Whereas with Who Do You Love, you got French Montana. French Montana raps in English. So now, when you listen to the song, you can't help but compare the English of Monsta X with French Montana in that song.
Because they're right next to each other, so there is that instant comparison. Right.
The fact that Monsta X has done so well with their English in that song, it just makes it so much better. Compared to BTS, RM can speak English, but the rest, broken English. They're not fluent in English, right? It's not their first language. They're learning.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, when they sing, when they even talk, you can tell they haven't done as much practice with it compared to Monsta X. So when I listen to BTS, it sounds like they're singing Korean, even though they're singing in English. Whereas Monsta X, it's fluent, it's understandable. Whether they speak fluent English normally is another story. But when you sing it, and especially when you're being compared with French Montana in the one song, it needs to be good, needs to be understandable, and it worked.
It's sort of half and half, I suspect. Like, it's half them just being really good, but also having really good training throughout their careers. Yeah.
Yeah, Sean knows what training is, because you trained under me in radio. I taught you my English. No, I'm kidding.
Are you fishing? Do you want me to say something like, oh, I know what a master is as well? You seem to be...
No, but Who Do You Love, I believe, was a great step above Play It Cool. Easily.
Wow. I'd put him... Okay, Who Do You Love is better. I'll admit that. But only maybe by 1-2 steps. Not like a huge improvement.
Well, when you're doing that kind of genre with that language that you're not fluent in, just one step is already big.
I getcha. No, that's so true. Like, being able to say, I improved on this next effort, that is a big deal. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not... The English was good already in Play It Cool with Steve Aoki, but in Who Do You Love, there was a comparison to show off how good it was.
And that's led to so many like appearances in US shows and an appearance on a kid show, Nickelodeon's All That, and so they're appealing to the right demographic, I suspect. I imagine a lot of teenagers are loving K-pop these days. I think they're pulling all the right moves to be able to have success in the US. It just hasn't quite materialized yet.
Well, I mean, other than the fact that their English is great and all, they can dance, they can sing, but inherently they're still a K-pop group. And the way they come about compared to the West is very different, isn't it?
Well, I just think that, you say they're a K-pop group, but maybe to them, maybe they have always been attempting to be more worldwide. Maybe they aren't necessarily trying to be a K-pop group, yet your opinion is they are. From what you've seen, they are.
Well, Sean, I don't think the West have any shows that put together singers anymore, do they?
I guess not. Does anyone care about American Idol anymore? Or X Factor?
Well, yeah, I don't. Well, here's the difference. They actually, they start off they go onto the stage as friends. You know what I'm saying? When a group goes on stage on like X Factor, not American Idol, they're solos, I believe. I believe The Voice is the same thing. But like on something like X Factor, they go on as a group because they've been training together already.
They've already been formed.
Yes,
right.
that's right. That's right. Whereas in the West,
you mean in Korea?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. The East or Korea in this case. The new form of debuting isn't with your friends.
Yeah, you're sort of piling in a bunch of strangers together and then over a few weeks having them partake in challenges. And that is how Monsta X were born through what's known as the survival show, No.Mercy or No.Mercy. They put a period between the no and the mercy. I'm not sure why, but yeah.
Must be a hip hop thing, Sean.
Oh yeah, it's hip hop style. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was back in like 2014, 2015. So
that's right.
The members of Monsta X would have met there with other competitors.
There were a few others. I actually dug through some of them, and I think it's an interesting thing to observe that without doubt they were unknown before. Now that they've appeared on TV, they're known. They've got fans instantly. Even before debuting, they've got fans, technically. They don't have a song out and they still have fans. And I just feel like compared to, let's just say you or I suddenly decided to be singers and released a song, it wouldn't get nearly as much traction as they did by going on a show first and then releasing music.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, one of the good things about competition is, competitive shows to form a group is the fact that during that period, that's when they start getting fans.
Yeah, they build them up throughout the show.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And then once you solidified the final 7 members or something, those fans that went for each of those members come together and they form the full fan base of that debuting group, which are the 7 winners or how many winners of that show. So No.Mercy, the group that came out was Monsta X. So competitive shows, that's might be the new norm of debuting in the Korean pop world, whereas in the West, we don't do that.
In a way, we're already seeing that twice. Probably the most famous example of a group that started with a show and were formed through a show. I guess IOI too, super famous. Yes. 101. So it is definitely a real trendy thing to do in the last, I'd say, since Monsta X, it's super trendy. Maybe 2015 onwards. And I don't know if I fully like that. I'm not sure that's necessarily the right way to go about researching, scouting, finding talent, and debuting talent.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's always an understanding that when you debut with a group that was based or started from a competition, you don't know them. It's business. Your group is technically a business relationship with your members.
Wow.
Compared to the West, where back in the day, well, not necessarily back in the day, but on stuff like X Factor, people come together because they were friends before. They were friends. They got together. Hey, let's try to dance together. We'll sing together. We'll practice, in our own time. And then they form a group themselves. Then they go on a competition. Then they go on a show to show off what they've done.
So, but no doubt, music is a business. Like people who don't treat it that way to a certain point are shooting themselves in the foot without doubt. Like, it's great to be like, oh yeah, a bunch of my friends mucking around, yay, but you still need to treat the industry as a business. Absolutely. Yeah.
The difference between them is that when Monsta X debuted, their members together was more on a business relationship. And another thing to understand is that the companies that they're under, Starship, SM, YG, they're entertainment companies. They're not agencies. They're called entertainment companies. So they work as a company. And like a company, they for example, they'll take more of your money, a higher percentage of your money, your income, versus an agency, which actually takes less, I believe. An agency just shows you where you can go. A company does everything for you, but you have to pay a lot back.
So they're businesses. Entertainment companies are businesses, and what business would not want to debut music that's guaranteed sales as compared to someone they can't guarantee fans, they can't guarantee sales of? So it makes total sense that they do these shows.
Exactly. The shows helps them get a fan base, early income as well, and the groups, the final debuting group, force them to become loving members.
I can see how valuable that is, because you actually showed me this quote in a Guardian article which reads, "Korean entertainment is one of the hardest jobs out there. Trainees are cast from the street, auditions, and learning there are guidelines and things they need to give up. Everyone is running towards the same goal, debuting. No trainee is guaranteed a debut. Like Monsta X member Shownu, he switched agencies and said it was slightly painful, and that gave himself the best chance of being picked for a group. So it's a vicious industry. So as a person in it or attempting to get into it, you have to think, what's my best chance? And these shows provide that chance. And that's a wonderful thing. They're giving an opportunity to sort of nobodies, I guess.
Yeah. Korean shows, they do wonders, right? But at the same time, the nature, the culture within it is competition. And it's not just like competition, haha, it's all good and fun, you debut, you don't, but everyone's all good. Then what they do is actually they do set up rivalries. I believe well, not in No.Mercy, like other groups, they'll have the management try to set up this girl who's ranked 10 try to be a rival with this girl who's ranked 8. So they create conflict to give ratings so more people will watch. And it helps to promote competition between each member. Competition helps. It makes you do better. But sometimes competition can ruin relationships, especially if you debut with the same person that was originally your rival. That was forced on you to hate, in a sense, so that you can be better than them or they can be better than you. And then suddenly she's part of your group. And that's going to be very awkward. So competition shows is good. You higher chance of debut, getting your name out, being found out. But it's also bad because it takes a greater toll on you, mentally and physically. Mainly the mental part in this case, because physically, if you're debuting, you're going to be training a lot. So whether you do on a competitive show versus in a company won't mean much. Whereas the force of rivalry between fellow members can be quite difficult, in your feelings.
That's so true. If you're not prepared, if you're not trained prior to going on this show, you're pretty green or pretty fresh. That's a disadvantage. That's a massive disadvantage because you're in the public eye already and you're being scrutinized and you might not have been trained how to handle that, how to handle the hate. Mm-hmm. So it could crush you. Whereas companies like SM, JYP and all that, they're trained for years in every single aspect of being in the public eye, as well as singing, as well as dancing. And that can really set them up to be better idols in general overall. That's so true.
So in the end, do you think that competitive shows like this to form groups is the new norm for creating a K-pop group? I believe it might be, actually. I mean, look at it this way. Super Junior, okay? In one of the competitive shows called Under 19, they had a special guest, Super Junior's Yesung. And he actually mentions the competitive nature of just being a trainee in his own company, SM Entertainment. This is not like SM did a show and Super Junior member Yesung got in. No, they were just trainees with like 80 people as trainees together. And they would train. The worst people get cut. And what Yesung mentioned is the fact that he had to look at everyone, all the trainees around him, as competitors, as enemies, as rivals, not as friends. He didn't talk to them because, it could ruin his chances. He could be taken advantage of.
Wow, that's
Instead,
sad. Like, friendship is magic. You should be making friends.
So he focused on nothing but training. And for him, it was like any day he could get cut because there's 79 other people who are willing to take your spot, who are willing to go for it. Yeah. That's the competitive nature of being a trainee, in a company, especially when there's so many people who want to be idols, who want to debut. So the trainees just compete with each other. Whereas companies, they see that and they can make money off of it. so they make a show.
It's lucrative, so why not keep doing it? I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Well, for me, I just see it as a trend because everything we just said is at the mercy of the public. And if the public are like, wait, there are way too many of these shows where we're going through a competition to form a group, I'm sick of it. I'm not watching anymore. If that happens, or when that happens, I reckon, because people get sick of anything that's on a lot. And there are a lot of shows that have been on over the years to form a group. So people are going to get sick of it, stop watching, and that's when the companies will be like, it's not worth it anymore.
Well, it makes you wonder, like compared to the West, in the West, like, what do you call it? The Voice, American Idol and stuff like that. It makes you wonder why they don't promote rivalry between singers. That might up the ante and make the show more interesting. Versus in K-pop competition shows, like to debut a group, they promote it all the time to keep people more interested, to get that drama and people wonder and like to sort of create argument and debate with people.
I get just some juice. Let's bring some juice into this. Yeah.
The West don't do that. The East does.
You know what? We do that as well because we're going to bring some juice into this Monsta X episode and discuss, are they one big BTS ripoff? Are they just copying, following BTS? Because, few reasons. BTS, they debuted first. That's just a fact. They were there first.
Okay.
Monsta X similar stylistically? I would argue kind of similar. They've got similar style, same amount of members, sort of similar aesthetic sometimes, like with dark outfits, leather pants, and a little bit of a hip-hop influence as well in some of their tracks. I just feel like there's a little bit of, we're seeing BTS as a formula that worked, let's use that formula.
I think I understand. The formula works, but the formula's been made not just from BTS. There are multiple formulas. For example, they found that 6 or 7 members is probably a good, or the lucky 7 or the lucky 6. I forgot which number, but basically, when you have that number of members, it's perfect. Any more? Too many members. Any less? It's a bit risky, especially for the current generation. Yeah. Back in the day, when Super Junior debuted, it was about dance. Okay.
I was just thinking, like, tell SM that 7 members is too much or the right amount. They debut 12 member, 13 member. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, well, the thing is, that was back in the day. That was the last generation, or maybe 2 generations ago. Hard to say. But back then, more members. And they were based, their style was based in Japan as well. Japan was about numbers. Right? They've got AKB48 with like over 100 members. They've got, what's that boy group that's got like 100 boys or like 50 boys or whatever? I don't know.
Exile Tribe is the one you're thinking of, right?
There you go. So originally they followed suit from the Japanese boy groups and girl
so
groups.
Nowadays, are you saying with the 7, are they following from someone else?
No, this is actually them from understanding continual success and failures, that they narrowed it down to the most popular or the most beneficial of the numbers, which would be 6 or 7 members. Yeah, you don't have 12 member groups anymore. Like EXO, while they used to be 12?
Yes.
Yeah, it used to be 12. Now, but they were split into subunits. Now they always split. There's always separate groups. When you watch Monsta X, EXO's Obsession, it's only 6 members. You don't see the whole group together. Yeah, so the number is important, and that's from trial and error. BTS, they probably went through that same thing. When the company, 6 or 7 should be about right, and so they chose the members for it. The difference here is the fact that BTS wasn't from a competitive show. That's the thing to be aware of.
And I guess technically, fact is, they are working with different producers, so it's not as if it's the same producer producing tracks for BTS, producing tracks for Monsta X. But that's what makes those similarities even more a little bit, the stylistic ones, the musical ones, just a bit interesting. Why do the rappers sound very similar in Monsta X to BTS? Why do the structures of BTS songs pretty much follow the structure of Monsta X songs and vice versa? Why do you think that is?
Success.
It's
now.
It's just the way to write a pop song, is that what you're saying?
To succeed, yeah. I mean, in the remember, here's something that I think is how the K-pop world handle it. If it's successful, they'll follow suit. They'll copy it. It's all about, doing whatever's good, you just follow on. Doesn't matter if it's the same. All right?
That's a good point, because right now we're seeing that with Monsta X. We're seeing all these Monsta X-ish boy groups pop up. At Ease, for example, Onius, for example, who debuted just a couple years ago. These groups, 100%. I listened to one of their songs, 2 of their songs, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a Monsta X influence happening here.
But I bet you they still can't compete with Monsta X's English. That's the other thing that's different about them. They're English. Come on.
They're just so good at it. I get you. Not every member, though. That's worth noting. Not every single member of Monsta X are fluent in English.
Well, do you think Monsta X sounds like BTS? Or not?
Sometimes, yes. Certain elements, yes.
You mean the hip-hop element?
Not just that, but the rappers, I think, sound fairly similar. And the structure of rap, verse, pre-chorus is this sort of smoother, breakdown beat, and then it goes into the chorus. That's kind of a thing that BTS were doing with, Boy in Love, or even their early stuff, No More Dream, or No.
That's probably one of the methods of getting your rappers light rather than your singers light. When you have the rappers do more and have them start the song as with rapping, then you know that the focus is going to be on the rappers of the group. So it's the change of the focus. Who the company wants the fan base to focus on. They want the fan base to focus on the rappers now. It's the rappers' day. It's time for the rappers to show off what they can do.
Hip-hop is really hot right now. I would argue hip-hop is the number 1 genre in the world right now. I'd say, without doubt.
Yeah, sure. I mean, hip-hop is also the most versatile because it can go into any genre.
Wow, that's a good point. It is quite versatile. It's got so many subgenres. It's a little bit like metal and rock in that way.
Exactly. And not just that, the dance in hip-hop is quite versatile as well.
It's good for dancing. I was just thinking that hip-hop is a real good genre for dancers.
Exactly. And so hip-hop is the current thing. A few generations ago with Super Junior, it wasn't hip-hop. What was it? It was like a J-pop sound, but pop and a bit of dance.
It definitely had a little more rock elements with EDM. Yeah.
Yes, eventually it went more towards EDM, right? Club music, you could say.
Right.
There was a mix of pop, girly pop, whatever, bubblegum pop. They had that. Now it's much deeper. It's hip-hop. It's hard-hitting.
So we can thank groups like BTS and even EXO and Monsta X for bringing boy groups into evolving them and making them sound even better than Super Junior, or even better, well, arguably better than TVXQ, even though they're incredible.
So Monsta X, I don't believe that they are a ripoff of BTS. Because if you say that, then BTS is probably a ripoff of another group of 7 members.
Everything is a remix. There's this graphic novel on the website. Well, if you search up theft, there's this free book. That's right, it's free. It's a graphic novel, and it's all about the history of music told from like a legal copyright space. And it just says how everything is a remix, and that really hit hard. And I'm like, yes, that is so true, because every single pop hook has already been written. Right? We can't dispute that. It's just what you do with it, what you do with the hook, the structure, the notes. That's what makes music so amazing and K-pop so amazing.
I believe hip-hop and rap, they do remixes all the time, and they have what do you call those little segments where you take out a small chunk of the song and then you make a song out of that segment.
Sampling. Yes.
Exactly. Hip-hop puts sample, and rap, they use sampling, and that's how they create something new from something old. Yeah, everything's a remix. It's great. It's good, but at the same time, while you can still hear the copy, the rip off of what it was meant to be, now you've got a new twist or a new meaning. So opens the doors, opens the floodgates.
All right, that's a great place to leave that little music segment. We went deep on music in that one. Now we're going to talk a little more about Monsta X's personal lives, because one of them was a very naughty boy and ended up having to leave the group. Okay. And that is the member Wonho. Have you ever seen Wonho?
Mate, I might need to search him.
One thing I'm going to say, I would not mess with this guy in a bar, or I would not mess with him on the street. He is built like Sylvester Stallone. He's built like Schwarzenegger. He is huge.
Should I be telling our audiences to Google search him? Google image search Wonho?
Google search muscles and you'll get Wonho.
Bullshit.
So here's what happened with Wonho.
Okay.
He had a bunch of allegations thrown by one Jung Da Eun, who he used to live with back in his early trainee days, or even before he was signed. And so it goes a little something like this, where on October 29th, Jung Da Eun claimed on Instagram that Wonho is yet to repay a debt. Monsta X's label obviously denied the allegations, of course. Now, the very next day, this controversial figure, because of Icon member BI, who also had a drug investigation, Han Seo Hee was involved in that. She's now getting involved in this Jung Da Eun Wonho business by saying, I know what you did in 2008. Suwon Detention Center on special charges. So basically a jail for minors.
Yeah.
I haven't even started. Doesn't being in a juvenile detention center make you a convict? Referring to Wonho. Now, next thing, Starship is saying they're taking legal action. It's a rumor. Forget about it. Not true. October 31st, they say they plan on submitting a legal complaint. So they're officially going through the courts.
Okay.
November 1st, Dispatch, who always break kind of gossip news and confirm idols are dating each other, that kind of reporting. They report that a man known as Joe witnessed Wonho and Jung Da Eun smoking marijuana, smoking weed in 2013.
Okay.
I quote, he said, in October 2013, I was in the dressing room when Wonho and Jung Da Eun were smoking marijuana. He explained that he called Jung Da Eun to borrow a Balmain belt, and Jung Da Eun told him to take it from her dressing room and gave him the passcode to the house. He went into the house, was looking for the belt in the dressing room when he heard Jung Da Eun enter the house. He heard Jung Da Eun's voice and a man's voice, and he heard Jung Da Eun call him Hosok, which is Wonho's real name. Joe was debating whether or not to leave the dressing room when he heard their conversation about marijuana. And Joe goes on, afterwards, I heard coughing, and the smell of marijuana reached the room he was in. That guy then went outside, and he exited the dressing room as well.
Okay,
now it gets investigated, police get involved. March 2020. On March 10th, the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency's narcotics investigation team conclude their investigation into allegations involving drugs. And Monsta X's former member Wonho has been cleared of all charges related to the case. So it was just that. It was a rumor, as far as the courts are concerned. However, he had to leave. Wonho had to leave the group.
Well, wait, why?
Because he felt it was burdening the group's image, burdening the group's reputation. In other words, he fell on the sword to save the group kind of thing, or he fell on the grenade to save the group.
I see. Well, did the group do anything?
They have said very little besides maybe sorry to their fan group Monbebes. You know, they kept quiet about it, which is fair enough. When it's under investigation, you don't want to accidentally tamper with the investigation proceedings. You don't really want to comment for that reason. You can get in big trouble.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like, see, I would have, if I was a member, I would have stood up for him.
Wow.
If he was found smoking weed, I'm like, mate, there are people who smoke weed all the time, and they're fine. I'm not too fussed with it as long as you're responsible and crap, you know, and you don't go around promoting it. With the exception, unless you're in America, I believe it's legal to smoke marijuana in America in some states. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
No, that's right. Like, it's medicinally legal in a bunch of states, and some have made it fully legal to buy from places. Yes.
Yeah. So he's not addicted to weed. Okay. It doesn't seem like it. There was no mention, and not just that, he's cleared of all charges. There was afterwards. But if I was a member of that group, I'd stand up and go, "Look, man. Like, I don't believe he's smoking weed." And if people ask me, "What happens if you found out he was smoking weed?" All right. Well, if it turns out he was smoking weed, nothing wrong happened. Nothing bad happened. The act of smoking weed was bad, but he didn't cause any problems. There was no violence. There was no harassment. Nothing like that. So, look, you want to smoke a little weed, just a little bit here or there. All right, do it, because I know you have self-control. Because nothing bad happened. I'd stand up for him.
I will say, Wonho, just to add to the tale, like, saying that he went to juvie, which is what Han Seo Hee said, that was never confirmed, by the way. Like, no one said, "Oh, yes, I did spend time." Obviously, Wonho didn't confirm that. He didn't say, "Yeah, I spent time in juvie." So,
not just that, but like, if you've been to juvie, there's records of it. It's not hard to find those records. You know, has this person been here for this, for wherever? Yes. Okay, done. There's your proof, and they got none. So it's confirmed that he didn't go to juvie because there was nothing to confirm that he did.
Yeah, so it really feels like this was just one of those horrible cases where some people just decided one day to go, "I don't like this guy. I'm gonna hold a grudge and ruin his life. I'm gonna ruin his career." It's crazy.
Because he wanted Wonho to pay his rent years later.
Yeah.
So whoever this guy is, well, that's not smart of you, but, well, what can you do? I mean, I prefer Wonho to rejoin that group. You know, get back into it, man. The group should have had their back, should have talked a bit more, and, you know, I would have stood up. Perhaps in the K-pop world, it's not good to do that because the image of the group is much more important than your feelings. But
I was just thinking that, like, why fan the flames by releasing a statement? Like, why not just let it blow over? I would take that approach probably. But it's worth noting that Starship, the label, were very vocal, and they straight away were, you know, like, "We're going to take this up with the police. We're going to investigate this," which is, in a way, being on Wonho's side, as in it's not instantly believing Jung Da Eun and her claims. It's saying, let's investigate, let's figure this out.
I would stand up for Wonho. I mean, there was nothing really bad happening about it. If he didn't pay apartment fees, well, you're not living in that apartment anymore. It doesn't really matter.
It did happen years ago. 2013 seemed to be the time period, so...
Yeah, so I'm not Like, come on, man. He went to juvie in 2008 or something, or detention center 2008. It was 2008. What did he do to go to juvie? I don't know, man. Not just that. I believe that if you, let's say if I was an idol, right? But like 10 years ago or 7 years ago, I've been to juvie. I would probably, especially if you learn from it and you've changed who you are, you can then talk about it confidently and tell people about your experience being in the juvie, why you got in, why you changed. And then you can help people to get out of situations where they might end up in juvie, where they might fall into a bad situation and start to go down the route that you've been on before. Suddenly you become a better person. You start helping other people as well from your experience. Could have done that. I'd do that. I think that would be a great step.
Wow.
Hard to take.
Could be a fair point. I feel like somewhere conservative like Korea would be like, you have a criminal record? No way you're going on TV.
Yeah,
no way you're appearing. That's just my suspicion, but...
Exactly. I understand that. And like, I also agree that in the Eastern side, once you have something negative on your reputation, your record, is really hard to remove it.
Which is something that should change. And it's worth noting that Wonho has debuted solo. He's got a bunch of songs out and an EP, in fact, a mini album out. And it's pretty cool. Yeah, right. After leaving the group. And the whole thing is really cool R&B, awesome sounding. I highly recommend checking it out and supporting him still, because as far as we could find through our research, he hasn't done anything wrong. So, does he have a YouTube channel? His personal YouTube channel? Well, search him up, Wonho. So Wonho. And you will get a label that's attached to that he's signed.
Okay, here we go. All right. Well, see, Wonho, good work on you opening up your channel, opening up your own channel, and getting back into music. Good on you, man. If possible, you should work with Monsta X. Should work with you, not the other way around. You shouldn't work with Monsta X. Monsta X should work with you. What I'm disappointed about is the fact that the group didn't seem to publicly have his back. That's all.
Well,
so I wouldn't. So when that's the reason why I say Wonho shouldn't get back to Monsta X.
Well, kudos to their label for really standing up. I think that shows me how nice the label is and how good the work culture is in the label. So maybe the members felt they didn't need to speak up, but Wonho, yeah, man, maybe you don't need Monsta X. You know what? Go solo. It's going great. Just keep going. All the best for you.
That's why I say it's the other way around. Monsta X should work with Wonho.
Yeah.
That's right.
They are on fire, though. And yeah.
That's why, Choa of AOA started her own YouTube channel, and she's doing her own stuff now. AOA, if they want to get good again, they're going to have to get back with Choa. But they won't, because of their bullying scandal.
I see we're going into your fantasies. You're just sort of listing who you want to work with.
I'm still sad about that. I mean, AOA is great and all, but like having that scandal really sucks. Man, damn. Ugh. Hopefully Monsta X don't have anything like that.
Whilst you mourn the loss of AOA as we knew them, we come to the end of another How Not to K-Pop ep. Monsta X, they're absolutely on fire. They've got still a little bit to go in the US, but I can see worldwide success on the horizon. I really can with this group, because they've got great looking members, great performances, great songs. They're great.
I agree.
And they stand alongside BTS, right, Henry? They definitely stand alongside them rather than being a ripoff.
Considering what BTS has done versus what Monsta X has done, I don't think they really stand alongside them. No. Dude, have you seen Monsta X release a song where it became a huge phenomenon? Like BTS? No, they did not. Do they stand side by side? No, but they are a group of their own right. They are a good group, an amazing group of their own right. They're not a copy or rip-off or whatever or anything like that. They are Monsta X. Okay? They are not BTS version 2. they are Monsta X.
Absolutely. And Wonho is Wonho, it's worth saying. His situation was messy, unpleasant, but he showed that grit, that determination, and I guess integrity by continuing to perform and coming back into the industry after what happened to him. And now he's having some success with the R&B vibe and, well, muscles.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you go on Google and search muscles, you will not find Wonho as one of the pictures, okay? I don't know what Sean's talking about. I tried it didn't work. It just gave me a picture of the anatomy of muscles, the muscular system. That's it. I don't...
I'll keep searching for them, and I'll hit you up, and we'll do episodes on them, on members with muscles. Yeah.
Members with muscles, right.
All right. Till next week, I'm Sean.
And I'm Henry.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am. All right,
till next time, guys. How not to K-pop. Stay tuned.